Mr. Speaker, sir, I am pleased to confirm to this House that the rollout of the unique personal identification number, Huduma number, with all its attendant benefits, is now fully on course. We are desirous of accelerating the implementation of our national transformative agenda. In this regard, I urge Parliament to prioritize the consideration of various seminal bills that are pending before the legislature, such as the National Aviation Management Bill, which once enacted will anchor the turnaround of the pride of Africa, our national carrier, Kenya Airways. Also before the House is the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendments Bill, the Business Amendment Bill number 2 of 2020, and the proposed legislation on the administration of referenda and on enhancing governance and on deepening our anti-corruption efforts. Honorable members, as we ushered the third decade of the 21st century, we as a country were invaded by locusts threatening to disseminate our food baskets and the livelihood of millions of our farmers. In the far east part of the globe, a new disease, COVID-19, was emerging, devastating millions of people. The World Health Organization declared the COVID-19 outbreak a public health emergency of international concern on the 30th of January 2020, and further went on to declare it a pandemic on the 11th of March 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to an unprecedented loss of life, global economic slowdown, the postponement of major cultural, religious, political, and sporting events, including the 2020 Olympic Games. It also led to the shutting down of borders and airspaces, the closure of institutions of learning, disruption of production and supply chains, a massive strain on health systems in every nation on earth, and tremendous pressure on individuals, families, communities, and entire nations. On the 28th of February 2020, through Executive Order number 2 of 2020, I established a framework to upscale and coordinate Kenya's preparedness and response to the coronavirus threat. Kenya's first case of COVID-19 was confirmed on the 13th of March 2020. In the days and weeks that followed, my government put in place a series of public health measures to stem the spread of COVID-19. These included Kenya's first ever nationwide curfew since independence, the restriction of movement into and out of most affected counties, the shutdown of learning institutions, a ban on public and social gatherings, restriction on the number of passengers in public service vehicles, among other containment measures. Our health institutions also ramped up their preparedness by training their staff on management of the disease, by creating isolation areas, and by procuring the deployment and deploying the relevant equipment and medication. Despite these commendable efforts, as of this morning, Thursday, the 12th of November 2020, we have reported a total of 66,723 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in our country, and sadly, also a total of 1,203 deaths since this tragedy fell upon us, out of which we can say that 23 persons succumbed to the disease over the last 24 hours. Our hearts go out to the families who have lost loved ones to coronavirus. Our thoughts and prayers are with those who are undergoing isolation or treatment with respect to this disease, and we wish them a quick recovery, a quick and complete recovery. Honorable speakers, honorable members, I would like at this juncture to request all of you to rise on your feet and join me in observing a minute of silence in honor of the memory of 1,289 Kenyans who have succumbed to this deadly disease. I thank you. Honorable speakers, it is my plea to this House and to all Kenyans that we must not succumb to COVID fatigue. We must not backtrack from our vigilant fight against this pandemic. And on our part, as leaders, our stamina for discipline must not diminish. If the people fall short of giving their best at this time, we, the leaders, have no option but to give our all. As I said recently, we must know the way, go the way, but also show the way. Mr. Speaker, we also once again honor and commend all our frontline health workers across the country, and we shall forever be grateful for their service under tremendous strain and challenging conditions. We also recognize and honor all other first responders, frontline staff, and essential workers who have selflessly gone above and beyond the call of duty and ensured that the Kenya flame continued to burn bright. Shifting our youth to become owners of capital also requires us to develop productive capabilities that move from the rudimentary to the complex operations. This is partly why we have revived Rivertex as a producer of textiles and a consumer of locally produced cotton. This is in line with the agricultural transformation strategy that obliges the growth of new strains of biotechnical cotton as a key area of opportunity for Kenyan farmers. The manufacturing pillar of the Big Four also aims to provide training ground for our young people to acquire skills and to replicate these in light industries. The third intention under the Big Four during this reporting period has been to develop a holistic human capital base. Our intention here has been to expand our health infrastructure and to guarantee that the individual is free from want and free from fear. Similarly, and in support of the holistic individual, I would like to report that measures aimed at achieving food security are already in place. The implementation, for example, of the agricultural sector transformation and growth strategy is well underway, and we have also successfully reformed the agricultural import subsidy program. If we can achieve this intention of developing a holistic human capital base, then we will increase our national productivity and enhance our economic development. The fourth intention of the Big Four under this year's economic development program agenda is the commencement of the journey from being a country of net consumers to a country of net producers. And in order to make this shift, we must admit that we cannot experience any significant progress in manufacturing and agro-processing without the building of transport systems and making significant investments in energy. Honorable members, even as we mooted the big four intention, some of us recognized then, as we still recognize now, that the task of ending the indignity of not having decent shelter, the task of enhancing access to universal health coverage, the task of enabling all who are willing to live in dignity through sweat of their brow to thrive, and the task of ensuring food and nutrition security would not be completed in a single term of office. That being the case, we gave a solemn promise that by the end of 2022, we would have laid an unshakable foundation for the realization of this vision, which is a shared aspiration for millions of our Kenyans.